Hello and welcome back to the Pitwall Podcast, where this week we're going to be breaking down the Dutch Grand Prix, where we saw a new face on the grid.
Not just a new face. We saw rain, dry, rain again, dry again. It was one of the craziest races I've ever seen and the most overtakes in an F1 race in history, and the single most lap as well. There were, I think, 63 overtakes on lap 2. Or maybe lap 3, kind of in between the two.
Yeah.
So anyway, crazy race. Can't wait to get into it. But first, let's get into a quali in 60 because qualifying was also eventful. They came out with a banger right after the season. But you know what? Before we get into that, I think we should talk about practice because something pretty eventful, I would say, happened during practice in Dawson because apparently you have 23 drivers now or something.
I do. It's crazy.
How about you tell me what happened to your driver and what happened?
Yeah. So we'll start with what happened to Piastri, which is he ended up in a wall.
This is in
at one of the
P2.
turns.
FP2.
Yeah, FP2. And he's at the apex pretty much for this racing line. And Ricardo is coming around the turn and is, it's free practice. He's going his on a flying lap, I think it was. And has to put himself in a wall to avoid just going straight on with Piastri, and ends up breaking his hand or his wrist.
Yeah, because he didn't let go of the steering wheel.
And he then had to have surgery on that. So, yeah, he's in the wall. They're asking him if he's okay. He's like, yeah, I had to hit the wall to avoid Piastri. And he goes, like, my hand. And once I heard that, I just knew it was done for.
Yeah, man.
I knew it was over for Ricardo, especially with how he was like, he was like visibly shaking.
Yeah, dude.
I was like, man, this doesn't look good. So he was out for this race for the rest of the weekend. Had surgery yesterday, I believe, or was it today?
I think it was actually race day.
Okay, so yeah. No, yeah, you're right. It would have been Sunday. So hopefully he's back within a few weeks. The normal recuperation time for that is about 6 weeks, but him being an athlete might be down to like 4 or 5. Kind of like Lance, he was in a lot earlier this season when he broke both his hands than everybody thought. So maybe he can make a
surprise comeback.
Yeah, surprise comeback. But for the meantime, we have Liam Lawson taking over, which is a big name for Red Bull specifically. He's driving for AlphaTauri. He is what I'd say projected next Red Bull driver.
Yeah.
Who's going to take, if Ricardo doesn't, Liam Lawson will probably be in the Red Bull seat is what I'm going to say. So it was good to see him out on the track this week. I was actually pretty excited to watch him race and see how he fares. So
yeah, I want to talk about him once we get into the race, but let me just say what I was feeling going into the race and the qualifying, because he had one practice session in the wet to prepare for what ended up being a dry qualifying session. Poor soul. And and I was just thinking the potential ramifications of this are immeasurable. I mean, just think about it for a second. Red Bull is literally trying to decide who to put in the AlphaTauri seat and the Red Bull seat right now. And Daniel Ricciardo could not have crashed at a worse time. It's not like he did it on purpose or he did something stupid. He didn't really make any mistake at all, I wouldn't even say.
Yep.
And it wasn't Piastri's fault either. It's just one of those things. I mean, I guess you could kind of, but like, it wasn't like Piastri's like, I'm going to get Ricciardo. Like it wasn't.
Yeah, no.
But anyway, the fact that we're going into this huge fight for a seat again, and it's all starting with Ricciardo again.
Yep.
So like Liam Lawson may end up getting the seat because of this, because there's not two tracks more different that he could prove himself on than the Netherlands and Monza back to back.
Yeah.
High downforce, extreme low downforce, back to back. He can prove himself on two entirely different tracks.
Oh yeah.
And that's what set the stage for qualifying.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk more about it as we go through, but let's go ahead and get a quali in 60 in real fast.
Let's get it.
So here we go. So basically, Q1 went basically pretty normal. Liam Lawson got 20th, unfortunately. Bottas down there, K-Mag down there, Ocon, that was a kind of big name to be down there, and Joe Guan, you made up the bottom 5. Big names in not getting into Q3 included Lewis Hamilton, who Mercedes screwed up their strategy. I'll talk about that in a little bit later in more detail, but basically he only got 13th. Pierre Gasly in P12, that's something to note. Lance Stroll, P11. But the man that made it in was Logan Sargent, who proceeded to crash in Q3, and Leclerc only got 9th ahead of Piastri in 8th, Checo in 7th, Carlos in 6th, and then Fernando back in the top 5. Albon, again, Williams looking strong at 4th with George Russell, Lando Norris, and of course, Max Verstappen on pole, and was just a crazy qualifying session.
Oh, yeah. What'd you get?
It's 1 minute exactly on the dot. So, it was one of the best qualifying sessions I've seen in a while. It was just really interesting, I guess. Maybe not the best, but one of the more interesting ones. So, I think with that, I think we just get right into the race.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, race lines up. It's dry, looking like it's about to rain, though. Everybody's on softs except for Lewis for some reason. He was on mediums. Race starts. It starts pouring immediately. So the craziness began. There's really no good way we could ever sit here and explain every single pit, everything that happened. But I'm going to try and sum it up, and then we can get into every driver.
Cool.
Basically, 3/4 of the drivers pitted immediately, and then a couple teams screwed up, including McLaren and Mercedes. Mercedes really screwed up on Lewis, and totally screwed his strategy, and that really hurt. So then they get back on wets for a little while. Lewis finally gets on wets. Everybody's on wets. Then it dries out, and it's time to switch tires again. More dramatic things happen. We're going to talk about it as we go along. And anyway, race continued. Then there was a crash, rained again, red flag, 5 more laps of high-speed racing on inters. The end. Race win, Max Verstappen. So that's the story of everything that happened. So keep all of that context in mind as we continue on. Why don't you tell me about Red Bull's race, though?
Yeah, so very eventful for Max as he came home with his 9th straight win, equaling Sebastian Vettel. So that's a very big milestone for him. Sebastian had also messaged Max before the race to wish him luck and say I want you to get this.
Yeah.
So that was really good to hear. Max didn't really have any struggles when it came to driving or anything like that. He got a little caught up in the madness once it started raining, as I guess everyone did. But he came out with a win. Not much too different than what we expect to see him from now. Speaking of expecting to see, Checo is in P4 again.
Yeah.
Not getting a podium. Started P7, a rough qualifying. I mean, everybody's saying every driver let me restart this. If every other driver had a shot like Checo did in that car, I don't know how many P4s or qualifying P7 they would have. I know some of them aren't as good as Checo, obviously, but
yeah, it's not looking good.
It's more consistent for him to not finish good than to finish good in that type of car. It's very scary. So, I mean, it's just, he's got it till 2024, but after that, I just don't know.
We'll see. And now Dr. Marco's already saying, well, we might. And then Christian's saying, no, he's safe.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going to happen.
Marco could just literally say, hey, get him out, and he's out. So
yeah. Well, I do want to discuss one really specific thing that happened.
Yeah.
Which is, all right, so when they're transitioning back from the original wets to softs, Checo is in the lead by 10.9 seconds. And they pitted Max first without telling either of them.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Because Checo's leading the race by 10 seconds from his teammate, and he gets undercut by Max.
I don't know. At this point, they're prioritizing Max. Obviously, they're prioritizing Max. I don't know. After him having a rough qualifying, I don't know, man. I don't know what to think because Red Bull already knows they pretty much got a championship under lock with Max.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to get it as quick as they can.
Yeah.
I don't blame him too much. It's just been rough with Checo this season. I'm not saying he's finished P15 or anything like that, but for Red Bull, a championship winning team, having a guy who's won 9 in a row.
Yeah.
And the team has won every race is pretty much.
Yeah, dude.
Has.
I think the shock in Checo's voice was, did Max undercut us? Like the fact they didn't tell him.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
No, I did. Yeah, I did. I don't agree with that, but
yeah,
them not telling
rough.
him was kind of shady, but I don't know.
I mean, I get Max like qualified better, but I don't even think that part of me doesn't even think that matters.
No.
Like if Checo qualified P1 and was still P1, they might have still undercut him.
They could have.
So I don't know. Red Bull has got some decisions to make, man.
Yeah. To finish off with Checo, he was P3, to give him that at least, but he had a 5-second penalty for what was it? For speeding in the pits, I believe it was, and that pushed him off the podium. But I mean, still, man, it's tough because he's got the fastest car on the grid.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I would do, but I think this is a great time to revisit our classic thing: is Checo the worst driver out of Mercedes? I mean, now it's McLaren, but sure, even on but let's keep it. He's still not.
He's still not. No.
You don't think Sainz is worse still?
Well, you said McLaren.
Sorry, no, we're not putting McLaren in it. Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull. That was the original argument.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's tough to say, man, because I feel like, I don't know. I mean, it's not normal for Checo. I mean, from this season it is. But, like, I feel like this is just an anomaly happening for Checo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude,
it's just like he's just off of something is off in Checo that has just changed this season. At least from the first 3 like races of the season, like something
maybe
big happened.
He knows he's never going to beat Max. I think that was obvious. I think Miami was crushing him.
Yeah.
I think maybe this no AlphaTauri clause in his contract might have been a big mistake. I think it will at some point cause him to be out of Formula One forever. Might be at the end of this season, might be at the end of next season, which I also respect it because it's like, like he made it to Red Bull. He got screwed out of his last seat.
Yeah.
Totally unfairly. So, he sent a clause, I'm staying here or I'm done. And you know what? I respect that. But I think we got to start looking at the I'm done possibility. Now, Danny Rick getting in a crash might help him because I don't know if Lawson's ready for a Red Bull seat. But, dude, I do not know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Anyway, I would make an argument that I guess there are maybe other than Sainz, I think maybe he's the second worst driver in the top 3 teams.
Really?
Because I think every other driver in that seat would do better.
Russell included?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll give him a maybe on par with Russell just based off of experience. But I think Russell and Checo's years of
Russell's
experience.
got like talent compared to experience.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I
sure.
get that.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'd throw Russell into it. Maybe I wouldn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
It remains to be seen. So anyway, let's get back on track. There's a lot more to talk about. Are you done with Checo? I am.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can talk about the rest of the podium, which is Aston Martin. Fernando Alonso, P2, had a strong race. The only other thing I put is he going to keep his promise now?
No.
All podiums after the break?
So that... I'll tell you why in a minute. I don't want to jump ahead too far. Yeah. But no, he's not going to keep that promise. Yeah. I think he knows that now, though.
Yeah.
And also just want to say that Checo also said that he was going to be on the podium for the rest of the season, and that's already failed. So, took 2 races. You got to stop making these. Only Max can say this. Only Max can say he'll be on the podium.
The thing is, Max hasn't said something like that. And what if it's just a curse?
It could just be a curse, which is going to perfectly play in
now
a point later.
We need a secret agent to go and like convince Max to say this on the radio or something next season.
I would say, Red Bull
ruin
fan.
This season. Don't ruin this season. Like
I wonder
next year, maybe like 6 years from now, when he's like tired of Red Bull.
Well, he's going to win the championship in 2 races, right?
Yeah,
yeah. So
wait till after then. Wait till after then.
Yeah, then he'll be like, I'm going to get on every race. I don't want him to be. I cannot. He does not need to win this race this weekend. I need any of the factors, which we're going to talk about, to stop it. Because I do not need him to be the all-time.
The curse breaking.
The curse breaking, which the Monza curse. I'm gonna talk about in a minute. Monza curse. He would be the most wins in a row of any driver ever. No,
I want that.
No, he's tied. That's good enough.
No,
dude. Okay, if they can prevent Lewis from beating Michael Schumacher's 8-time championship record at Abu Dhabi, I'm just being a Team LH member right now. I don't actually mean that. I do not think it was the FIA massive conspiracy. I just think Michael Massey's a moron. If you're listening to this, don't call me. Anyway.
Nick's 3 a.m. thoughts.
Third person on the podium was Pierre Gasly. What a freaking surprise was that. Was not expecting it. I didn't even realize he was about to get a podium until like the last second.
I know. Once they were like, all right, Checo, you got a 5-second penalty. I was like, oh wait, that's Gasly.
Yeah, because they were so focused on Sainz and Lewis that I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, Gasly climbed up from P12 to a podium. I loved his excitement. That made the whole weekend special for me.
Yeah,
I thought it was really
awesome.
cool. First time since 21. I just love, like, it's impossible not to take it for granted a little bit when you're in a position like Lewis was or Max is.
Oh, yeah.
Max looks, he's won, but like, and then there's other people, it's like P5 is an amazing result for them.
Oh, yeah.
That's what makes Red Bull.
I mean, look at McLaren when they were just starting to get back into shape.
Yes. That's what makes Formula One special.
Yeah.
Is every position is special to somebody except for P20.
Logan?
Yeah. So anyway, let me talk about Mercedes now because I have many thoughts. They botched the strategy, totally ruined Lewis this weekend. Let me tell you all the things that Lewis did this weekend that should have made him have an amazing weekend. Okay. First of all, there's this video going around of his reaction time. It was like 0.1 second faster than anybody else, which is huge. Mm-hmm. Second of all, he was the fastest man on track the entire race, on average, the entire race. Mm-hmm. Now, if Lewis was chasing Max down, you better guarantee Max would have been flying.
Yeah.
But so that would have put Lewis in P2 at least.
Max was coasting at a certain point.
Yes. P2 at least, and on the red flag restart at the end of the race, it would have been Lewis and Max lining up together for a 5-lap shootout at the end of the I don't even care if Max wins at that point. I mean, obviously I want Lewis to win, but Formula One needs Lewis and Max fighting. I cannot stress that enough. Think about how great 2021 season was.
Think of what if 2024 Mercedes just comes out the gate
that's what I'm hoping for.
We got a car and it's 2021 all over.
There's a chance. There's a chance it's flipped.
Yeah.
I think because Red Bull's in the Mercedes situation, I think there's a chance. Legitimately, all Mercedes delusion syndrome alone, gone. Legit, I think my Mercedes delusion syndrome's gone. Yeah. Seriously. I believe that it's more likely that we are going to be in the same position next year.
Okay.
That's a big statement for me.
Yeah.
So give me some props.
Same position as they currently are?
Yes. So basically second fastest-ish, second of the constructors. I believe that's around where they may start.
Really?
Maybe. I'm trying to be realistic.
That is delusion.
I'm trying to be realistic.
Wow.
I think I don't think Max is going to be winning by as big as he is. I think maybe first race they could finish within 10 seconds of Max or something. So anyway, with that said, but Lewis is driving it. Lewis has confidence in this car. So that's what makes it more like a Red Bull 2021 situation because Max in that car were one. Yeah. So I think a realistic situation is there's a chance Lewis can win the Constructors' Championship next year in a slightly worse car, but drivers, but Red Bull still wins Constructors.
Yeah.
If they get their second seat together, which who knows. And if honestly, I love George Russell, but he's going to have to play second fiddle for this to work. And I don't know if that's going to.
I think he's always going to play second fiddle for.
I think he knows
if Lewis
that.
Is there.
But there's some races where he has a little bit of an ego problem.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Lewis was the fastest man on track. Period. End of story. Ran to P20 at one point and finished P6. So the recovery was amazing, but I was just so annoyed. Also, they screwed up his strategy in qualifying by having him do a flying lap, a lap before everybody else did for no reason. Yeah. So, and it was not Lewis's call. I listened to the team radio. Everybody's saying it was Lewis's fault. It was not. So that hurt. But at the end of the day, Stroll didn't score any points. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Stroll didn't score any points. So really, and neither did Russell because of, I'll explain in a second, but essentially doesn't really matter. I mean, it hurts Lewis's defense against Alonso but I don't think it's going to matter. I think Aston lucked into this one. McLaren is the second fastest car right now. Mercedes is probably the more better organized team.
Yeah.
And I don't think they can catch them. So I think I'm not worried about Mercedes' P2 in the constructors right now. I'm just mad at their strategy. So
Fair enough.
Anyway, Russell had a pretty good race. But they also screwed him out of a podium, basically, in his strategy. And then to make matters worse, him and Lando tapped a little bit and somehow gave him a puncture on inters, which, like, what inters were these that ripped up so terribly?
Yeah.
Can you tell I'm upset in my tone? I'm very upset.
A little bit. Just a little bit.
But I still enjoyed it. I was pulling for a lot of other. Once I knew Mercedes was screwed, I was actually able to enjoy the race a little more.
Yeah.
So, because I just let it go, like whatever happens. So Russell ended up. He did finish in P17 because he did get a change of tires, but whatever. So him and Lando made contact. Not really Lando's fault. Yeah. So, I guess let me talk about. Oh, so do you want to talk about Lando?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, qualified P2, just had a rough day. I think their McLaren strategy was off for both of their drivers. Kind of ruined Norris's race, I think. He finished P7. I mean, I'm not putting this as like a McLaren is not back again because this race just seemed like everybody was off strategy-wise.
Yeah.
Not everybody. Majority of the time.
Yeah, basically Gasly, basically the people on the podium are the people who got the strategy right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
McLaren just kind of had a rough one for both their drivers, and Norris just kind of didn't luck out this time, so got a P7 for the day. What about Piastri?
Well, Piastri, he had an okay race, I guess, P9. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, where they were at the beginning of the season, they would absolutely take this result, I think.
Oh, for sure.
Double points finish. I mean, when they got double points for the first time, we were like, what's happening? So, the fact that we're sitting here going, man, what a crappy race. I mean, they scored more points than Mercedes.
That's true.
So, actually, I'm not actually sure if that's true. Let me do math real fast. Yeah, they did. By 1 point. No. Oh, they equaled. Okay. Still, they that's way better than it's been.
Oh, yeah.
So it was fine. Let's talk about the biggest mess up of the weekend, which was Charles Leclerc and Ferrari.
Oh, man.
So, at the beginning of the race, Leclerc messes up his front wing. Mm-hmm. I don't actually remember who he hit. Oh, it was Stroll, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It was Stroll, of course. And his car was noticeably slower after that. They brought him into the pit. They weren't ready with his tires somehow. And it was like the craziest, like they're running around. They forgot to change his front wing, which was broken. And they would have had time to fix it.
Yeah.
And to make matters worse, the guy was already out there to adjust the angle of his wing. Mm-hmm. Like they knew it was broken. So someone else just forgot.
Yeah. The guys who grab it, I guess, just didn't. And
not only that, he sat there for so long, they had time to stand there and go, oh, his front wing is broken. Mm-hmm. And I just realized this. Oh, no, my table. Anyway, I just realized it sounded like that. So then, if that wasn't enough, he keeps driving in the car. He's getting passed. And I was laughing. And then I was like, okay, there's something wrong. They bring him into the pit. Afterward, he DNFs. Afterward, they find out that the piece of the front wing fell under the car and cracked the floor of the car, causing him a 1 second a lap slower than he was. And it was just going to be a terminal problem, cause engine issues, overheating, brakes, all of the things that happens when the floor is messed up. That is the most Ferrari thing I've ever heard.
It really is, man.
Okay, Leclerc messed up.
It's another thing of self-sabotage.
Yeah, okay, Leclerc messed up a little bit. Sure, whatever. But for it to go under, how is that even possible? The cars are like a centimeter off the ground.
This much off the ground.
How did this happen? So anyway, I'm aghast for Leclerc. But you know what? It was just one of those races that we're all going to look back and laugh and be like, Ferrari, they did it again. So how about you tell me about Sainz? I think he had a little bit better of a race.
Yeah, I mean, he got P5. So after a rough weekend for Ferrari, they at least got some decent points from him. I'm sure they're not going to be happy about Charles, but Carlos is at least consistently getting P4, P5, P6. So could be a lot worse for Ferrari.
So I would actually make the argument that Ferrari messed up Sainz a little bit too. So Lewis is flying behind him. He's trying to defend. What he needed to do was drive as fast as he could because he could have been ahead of Checo.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the penalty. But instead he was defending for his life, which I understand. This is like a minor mess up. Other people could have made this mistake. Yeah. That's what I call a minor mess up. It's Ferrari and minor. So I would say, I don't know. I would say he probably should have been P4. If I was running the team, he would have been P4. Of course. And that's why I'm wearing a red Mercedes hat today. That's because I should be the Ferrari team principal. But yeah, I would say they messed up a little bit, but it's fine. So who do you want to talk about next?
Well, I was going to, while we're talking about Ferrari, Nick depicts Ferrari very well in our little short video we just made.
Yes.
That is on our social medias and our YouTube that I believe you should check out. Shows a crying Ferrari of a montage of Charles Leclerc and
Perfect
Carlos
for
Sainz
Monza.
failing.
Yeah.
Just in time for the Italian Grand Prix. So give that a check out and let us know what you think of it.
How do you rate your their race suits for this race? The yellow. Have you seen them?
Oh, the Red Bull? Or
the Ferrari yellow McDonald's look that they're going.
I don't like them.
So,
but
the car looks great.
Yeah.
The yellow on the car, I always like. They did it last year. Looks fire. It's not as good, but that's Ferrari for you. Every year, not as good.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. I mean, still, somehow, Ferrari's having a worse season right now. Just throw that out there. It doesn't seem like it. Doesn't feel like it, but they just have a worse car. Not to mention, while you're also pulling it up, I want to mention Ferrari has thrown in the towel for the season. This was reported yesterday. I can't remember by who. It was on Formula Racer's Twitter, but they had an article. Everything they do, every upgrade that they do for the rest of the season is all a test for how they should set up their car next year. So they could suck in a weekend.
Yeah.
And hopefully they don't do that in Monza. That would be.
Yeah, I agree. They need to, if they're going to upgrade something, it needs to be for this. Yeah, for this car.
So, anyway, what do you think?
I personally like the race suits because it gives me old Ferrari vibes.
I just don't like the black pants. I think that's my problem.
I mean, it would have been better if they were red as well.
Yeah, that's the problem.
But it could be worse. I mean, they do look like.
I like them better than the full yellow from last year. I'll say that.
Yeah, that's fair. I like this a lot more than that, but it's still not bad for me. I like it.
Well, anyway, Ferrari is going to have a time. And while we're at it, I think this is time for the Monza curse explanation time. Because now, since we're talking about Ferrari, obviously Ferrari wants to win Monza, but they have started the infamous Monza curse. And I'm pulling up my phone right now because I have a reference photo for this. So in 2019, Charles Leclerc won the Italian Grand Prix. They cheated, but that's a different story. In 2020, to quote Rocket Power Mohawk, my current favorite F1 creator, he shags it into the barriers and is out of the race. In 2020, same year, Pierre Gasly wins the Grand Prix. 2021 hits the wall, DNFs. 2021, Daniel Ricciardo wins the Grand Prix. 2022 hits the wall and DNFs. In 2022, Max Verstappen won the Grand Prix. In 2023,
we'll find out.
I'm just saying, if this is on the SAT, I don't know if you ever took the
match the pattern type of thing.
Yeah. In the old SAT before the new version, there was this. I forget what they called it. It wasn't anagrams, but something like that. And that was a thing that you had to do. And I would fill in Max Verstappen, right? So.
Sure.
So I think we should talk about Williams next. And the reason is, ladies and gentlemen, you have arrived at a Williams race win week. I am calling it now because I've seen no one else say it online. And I'm going to post this and get clowned for it. And it'll either be funny or I'll be right and I'll be a genius. Alex Albon is going to win this race. I'm calling it now. There's no reason why he shouldn't. He looked like a beast this weekend, and I want to talk about him next. But he looked insanely fast, and they have an amazing bullet of a car in a straight line, and Monza is just a giant straight line. As long as he can brake decently, which he's proving that he can, there's no reason he should have been as fast as he was this weekend on this track. No reason. If they can set up his car right, which is like 50% chance, and Max crashes, which hopefully is 100% chance. But see, the thing is, he's already crashed at Monza, so like maybe it's already been exercised. But that's besides the point. I think Alex Albon is going to win this race. That's the hottest take I've ever had, but I've been saying it for weeks, and I have mentioned it to a couple other friends, and they were like, "Wow, you should. That's smart. No one said that." And I was like, "All right, I have to commit." So, welcome to Williams' first win in a long time. It's going to happen. And you know what? I am calling something right now.
Oh, God.
I don't care if Checo finishes second. If Albon wins the race, I get to start the podcast next week because I went this hard.
Deal.
I went this hard for it.
That's fine.
So start preparing.
Listen, I'm literally trying to find any chance to give you a podcast start.
Okay.
Even when you scored more points, I tried to let you.
No, I gotta follow the original. I'm a rule follower, unlike Michael Massey. So I gotta. That one was there. I had to go for it. All right. Anyway, Albon this race P8. Looked incredible, overtook people all the time. It's one of those races where it's like, dang, he still only got P8. Like, he deserves so much more. His teammate, however, did not have as good of a race. I mentioned that he crashed in qualifying, but Dawson, how did Old America do? And
not only did he crash in qualifying, he crashed in the race.
Yeah,
Logan is gone.
You're calling it?
I'm calling it, dude.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think Logan's gone.
I think he knew he was gone too.
So Logan lost control after hitting a curb. I've forgotten on what turn, but crashed into a wall. And turn 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And I don't think, I mean, he's probably costing this team so much money just in crashes. And that's not a good thing for Williams.
Yeah.
Because they're barely, I mean, they're not even hitting cost cap, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think they're very close.
Yeah.
Very close for the first time.
I mean, they're kind of like in a hot situation where it's like they don't get sponsors or anything like that. Like, it's rough.
Yeah.
So for him to be like crashing this much, DNFing P20 like every single race nearly, I just don't see why they would stick with him if there's other alternatives that are probably
the same
a little bit more experienced. Yeah.
So I do you think he knew? Because like he sat on the track the entire race by himself, and he looked like he was like, I mean, he was falling apart on this. It was heartbreaking, honestly. Yeah. I think he knew. I think he knew that like this is it. Like I'm done now. My career is over. And you know, it's sad. You know, and the thing that really annoyed me, and maybe I'll get hate for this, I don't know, is you know, he was the first time that an American's been in Q3, the highest they've been for like a long time. I forget exactly what. It was in Andretti. I can't remember what year, but everybody's like celebrating this, and I'm like, no, he crashed in Q3.
Yeah. Like,
good job, and there was no.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he finally got into Q3, but still, it's just like, look at Albon.
Yeah.
So I think if Albon wins this week, it's going to be, and he doesn't do well, it's going to be real bad. It's not, I don't think it's totally over, but right now, before it was his seat to lose, now he's lost his seat and he has to earn it back kind of thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because there's enough races where if he has an amazing 9-race streak, you know, there's 2 really challenging tracks coming. Well, Monza's hard in some weird ways, and Singapore is super complicated, so.
Albon's shown that there's pace in the car. So
yeah,
I think Williams is starting to look like, okay, why is it? Kind of like why everybody's looking at Checo. Why is he not?
And Stroll
competing?
Too. Yeah. So there's a lot of second driver issues, and there's a lot of good drivers out there that.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. The smartest thing for Red Bull to do, I got to be honest. You heard me. I wanted Checo to win the championship this year.
Yeah.
The smartest thing for them to do is put Ricciardo in that seat and bring Lawson up next year, and then
to AlphaTauri, or
bring Lawson to AlphaTauri and put Ricciardo in at Red Bull. If Checo will refuse to go to AlphaTauri, if they don't, I don't know how that works. But and I mean Yuki doesn't technically have a seat yet, so I mean not that he doesn't deserve it, but remember we were theorizing about Audi. So I mean maybe if he leaves, they could keep Checo also, but I think. If Ricciardo comes back, especially if he comes back from his injury and is still doing well, it's kind of like this guy is a champ, like you know. So
deserves to be competing. At the top.
It's a tough call. They're putting at jeopardy what's been working for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So,
it's just Red Bull silly season is in full effect.
I mean, in 2019 and 2020, they were nowhere with that second seat.
Yeah.
As soon as Ricardo left, it was like, what do we do?
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, let's move on. I'm very bummed about Sargent. Who do you want to talk about next? We haven't talked about Ocon, and we talked about Gasly.
So P10 for Ocon. He at least got points for the weekend for Alpine. Got one to match Pierre's podium. So I mean, at least it was a double points. I was happy. I'm happy with Alpine at the moment, honestly. Like in the past few weekends, because Ocon's been performing really well.
Why did they fire Otmar?
I don't know. There's no reason.
Sorry, I couldn't even hold that
Absolutely
one in.
No reason. Alpine is in a strong position, I believe. They are not at McLaren level, I don't think. Yes, they have a podium above them now, or not above, like not more than them, but for this week.
Yeah. They both have a podium. Both drivers have a podium.
Oh, yeah. So, I don't know. I feel like McLaren and Alpine are in the same position, just like at different stages. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I understand. It's like Alpine's just a little behind McLaren.
Yeah.
And McLaren has just got something right along the way. And we'll see.
They're hitting some grooves in their strategies. And I think once they smooth out, like these two teams are going to be like really, really competitive towards each other. So overall, good for Ocon, good for Alpine. Obviously good for Gasly. I was stoked. Like when I on the watching him on the podium, I was like so happy.
Yeah.
I love Gasly.
Yeah, me too.
I want to talk about Alfa Romeo because we can talk about another crash. Sadly, Zhou Guan Yu wheels locked up on him as he went through a turn and crashed straight into a barrier. It's that's another thing. Like I don't know if I should be worried for Zhou or not because like
it's sounding like we should be.
Yeah, because he's like honestly also not as bad as Logan, but like starting to get into that same category of you're costing this team like more money than we're bringing in, like with this certain sponsor. I mean,
yeah.
You have to look at that, but I think he also brings in a good bit of money.
Yeah, I don't know. They're saying he might be too expensive. They have a good rookies. I'm bad. I'm not going to butcher their name, but it's Alex Palu, something like that. I don't know how to say his name. I'm sorry. I do pay attention to F2. Don't climb me in the comments. I do. I am watching these, but I mean, they're kind of in this place. They're kind of in this flex area for the next 2 years. So. They're losing Alfa Romeo as a title sponsor.
That's true.
Or not losing them. They got outbid or whatever.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So they're actually getting more, but
sure. But not next year. So
no, yeah.
Bottas didn't really have a remarkable race either. He finished 14th. I just don't know what to think of this team. This is the most ambiguous team because like we all know what's going on with AlphaTauri. It's like they're not that good, but the seats are interesting. Alfa Romeo is just in no man's land.
Just there.
Yeah, they're just there. Every other team has like an identity. You know who they are when you say like Alfa Romeo is the least likely team that if you said, "Hey, have you heard of blank?" to someone that hasn't heard of F1, no clue.
Yeah,
0 chance.
For sure.
I mean, not 0 chance, but the least likely. Probably Haas is next, but So, and that's a big thing because I mean, at the end of the day, F1 is majorly a TV show. Like if you really think about
it's entertainment.
If you think about it, like every major sport is entertainment. I mean, the NFL is a perfect example. They call themselves an entertainment league.
Yeah.
That's the National Football League if you're listening to American football, if you're listening to in other countries. So yeah, I don't know. So with that said, don't know what they should do, but I do want to quickly I keep going on tangents today, but I think this one's good.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Here's how Valtteri Bottas is going to be a Ferrari driver next year. I'm kidding. Valtteri Bottas is not going to be a Ferrari driver, but here's how it could go down. Carlos Sainz hates being at Ferrari. Ferrari's not enjoying Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz decides to go somewhere else. Let's say Alfa Romeo, just to make the math easy. Takes Bottas' seat. Ferrari goes, well, we don't take rookies. Okay, so that takes off a lot of people off the table. So it has to be someone that's in a current seat. And it needs to be someone that has a personality that's like, it's a Ferrari driver. So no offense, takes Zhou Guan Yu off the table. Yeah. There's a lot of the people locked down. The only other people that would be available, not the Haas drivers anymore, they're taken away. Plus they wouldn't take them anyway.
Yeah.
So who do they take? Do they try and buy Alonso away from Aston Martin? I don't see that happening. So
Yeah.
I think he's happy there. And
I'm sure Aston's happy with him.
And he'll never be fired, I'm convinced.
Yeah.
So, and he's already been at Ferrari, and he left Ferrari on his own accord. So, and he has nothing left to do there. So, I mean, I guess he can win a championship if he wants to try. But with that said, the one of the most experienced drivers on the grid, who's a Grand Prix winner, won more than Sainz, by the way, and challenged Lewis Hamilton, is Valtteri Bottas. So I'm not saying it's going to happen, but like there's an off chance that if Bottas is interested, which he would be,
they might take him.
They might take him. And just imagine Bottas at
Ferrari,
for a second. Dude, it'd be incredible.
That'd be insane.
I don't even know if he would be good, to be honest. He seems like he's deteriorated over the last couple of years, but he's a great personality. He has the face. He would let Leclerc be the lead driver. Would not be an issue. Come on. And I'm calling it now. If Bottas goes, I'm buying a hat that has a Ferrari 77.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I've said before, Bottas is, I'm calling it his F1 dad phase.
Yeah.
He's coasting. He's chilling. He's relaxing. He's there.
Yeah.
And I think that's, until, like you said, this happens, potentially, that's how he's going to be.
It's not going to happen, but it's not the most outside
it's
of
not out of the realms of possibility.
Literally, I really, truly think he's their best option that isn't a rookie, and I don't think they'll take a rookie.
Probably not.
Best option outside of if Sainz leaves.
Counter tangent, Arthur and Charles Leclerc.
Oh, yeah, Arthur Leclerc. But they won't do that, though. That's who they need to bring up to Alpha for a year and then switch and then get started. That would be incredible. Oh my gosh. If Charles keeps putting up with all this crap.
Yeah. What if they do have the Leclerc brothers as Ferrari drivers? Now that I could see them doing to bring up a rookie.
That is true. That is an excellent point. I want that too. Can we get them both somehow? Yeah. I don't know. Bring Arthur Leclerc should be at least their third driver next year. And then oh dude. And then in a practice session that he could sit in Bottas's seat and I'm talking about his Ferrari seat and drive at the same time on the track. Oh my gosh, that'd be so cool. Dude,
would be.
I almost want this more now. Dang it. Nah, they both can happen.
Yeah.
Leclerc's going to be in, Charles is going to be in.
Bottas gets a year at Ferrari.
Then retires.
Arthur gets a year as a reserve driver. Bottas retires. Arthur takes a seat.
Genius. And then Mick goes to Audi.
Yep.
With
Carlos.
And then Yuki takes Stroll's seat. Stroll becomes a professional tennis player. Albon, see, they might offer Albon too. That's actually
Albon's turned down some deals so far.
Yeah, I've heard that. But also, I don't know. You get a Ferrari deal, it's gonna take it.
Yeah, pretty much everybody takes a Ferrari deal,
except for Lewis Hamilton.
Of course.
Get wrecked. It was close though. It was close.
Pretty much.
It was close back there when right before the turbo hybrid era. Oh, yeah. Shout out to Nicky Lauda. Anyway, let's finish this up. We're on
tangents.
We're on tangents. All right, Yuki P15. He got beat by Lawson. Not to steal your thunder. Is Yuki secretly a wall? Because the entire race, no one could get by him. He was on tires for like 7 hours.
Yep.
Like, it was just a long time. They waited too long to pit him. Terrible strategy. Yeah. I think maybe they were just trying to make Lawson beat him. I don't know.
Oh.
Anyway, I'm kidding. Am I? I'm kidding. Anyway, tell me about Liam Lawson's race.
Well, he came home P13. It was an overall good showing for him, and he also got some praise from Horner.
What?
I know, that's insane. Here's what he said. So the poor guy gets dropped in a car he's never driven, wet and dry conditions, but I actually think he did pretty well, and he actually overtook Max on Max's outlap as he changed onto the intermediate tires at the end. And to finish a race like that in itself with the lack of experience, I thought in very difficult circumstances, he applied himself very well. I think that's great to hear from your first day as a Red Bull driver.
Dude.
As a F1
Listen,
driver.
I know I'm going to get clowned for this too. I don't know every race ever. I'm sorry. No, I think you're going to agree with this. I like that I had to specify because normally I'm like, I know I'm crazy. All right. I think that was the hardest debut ever. I'm going to have to do some research, but my gut tells me there's no way. It's going to be an opinion. There's no way you could ever. Hardest debut ever. Yeah. Tough track, rain, dry, terrible car, car you've never driven. not even like tested. Like he's never driven this car, period.
Yeah.
So,
like he showed up to qualifying and that was it.
Well, at P3.
Or FP3. Sorry. Qualifying day.
Yeah. Dude, terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at least he had overnight to prepare, but still.
That's only going to be sim work, if anything.
This is why, and not maybe, I guess I could have flown him back to Milton Keynes overnight.
Yeah. Probably not.
This is why he's probably going to be a world champion.
Yeah.
I mean, this is big hype, but like, I see why they call him the next Max Verstappen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they need to work all this out to where Max's last year is a teammate with Lawson. And Lawson knows, like, all right, you're going to be the first driver next year. You need to just follow Max, do what he does.
Yeah.
That's what they need to do. So Ricardo stays for 2 years or something and gets Lawson's seat. That's what needs to happen.
Gotcha.
If they're just being totally ruthless, which they are. So
yeah.
That's the one thing is sometimes their ruthlessness is good. Mm-hmm. And maybe it will work out. But I was super impressed.
I was too.
The only man to overtake, other than a race start, which I don't even really count, only man to overtake Max the entire season.
Yep.
The entire season.
That's insane.
Crazy. Like the math on that alone until this race where he DNFs.
Yep.
So, do you think it's going to happen? The DNF?
No.
Think about it. Okay.
No.
You don't?
No.
Okay. Let's talk about Haas. Don't think about it more. I don't want the Monza curse to die. Come on. You guys can't take everything from us. All right. Tell me about Nico's race.
Okay. P12. That's it.
P14. All right. So, no, I'm just kidding. That wasn't. I actually don't know what it is. P16. Even better. Hey, P12. P12 isn't bad for a Haas.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's not a P20.
He beat our Mercedes. He beat Logan Sargent.
Yep.
He beat Charles Leclerc.
Kind of. Indeed.
I mean, technically he did.
Yeah.
He did finish. So
anyway, back to that bull that you were talking about earlier. The Red Bulls.
Monza curse. Is it dead?
It's not going to happen. Okay, hear me out. I want Red Bull to have this record at least so they can claim it. And
they have enough.
Because think about it, then there's a standard that these Formula One teams have. Because you already have that with Lewis Hamilton as a driver.
Yeah, and maybe Lewis doesn't have this record because he actually had competition.
But I'm talking about the championships. He's considered the greatest because of his 7 world championships.
Yeah, 7,
not 8.
Oh God, you had to do that one. Well, Max technically has 0. Okay. This would be his first legitimate championship. No, I'm kidding. Okay. I would consider. I've said this many times before, and I'll say it again. Max had the better 2021 season. I don't know why we're talking about this. It's my fault.
I'm going to rephrase my answer.
Okay.
For the sport of Formula One.
Okay.
I hope the Monza curse continues to be true. As a Red Bull fan, I hope Max dominates this weekend.
In all realness, even though Alex Albon is going to win this race, I don't think that's actually going to happen. Like, I would be stunned just because the curse is a thing. The Bahrain curse is also a thing, and it's dead already.
But you got to also think there's a thing that can happen technically where Max, without anything being his or the car or his team's fault, can be wrecked.
It's true.
What if he's trying to lap someone and they just take him out?
For the Monza curse?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this is my chance.
Well, just by pure coincidence, they're like, oh, we're going to let it pass, but on this turn.
I'm just saying, there's no way they can go the whole season without a Max DNF. At least one. It just never happened. It doesn't seem possible to me. And what? Okay, let me throw it out this way. If Max has to not finish one race this year, wouldn't you rather be Monza so we can keep this joke going? If it has to,
it's tough.
You don't have the answer. You don't have the choice of whether or not he doesn't finish one race. It's just what race would you choose? 9. You have 9 left to choose. Abu Dhabi would also be funny.
I was thinking Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, that would be funny too. If
Lewis I was thinking Abu Dhabi. It's the thing. It's just this record, man. If he beats it, I'll be happy. If the Monza curse happen, it's like it's a win-win, but a lose-lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean Checo could still win. He won't.
Yeah, but then it's not the record's not there.
Okay, hold on. If Max does crash, do you think Checo's the most likely to win this race?
Probably not.
You don't think so?
No.
Who do you think's the most likely?
I mean, it depends on qualifying. Checo has to qualify good, I think.
But he won't.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a Checo hater.
Second, it would have to be Lando
Oh yeah,
Fernando or obviously Albon.
I think Lando could win too. I don't know. I do not know.
See, but then I don't want Lando to win.
Why?
Because then the Monza curse.
But he didn't crash last year. Oh, you mean next year?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's true. You got to curse the
Fernando win this one.
I didn't even no, because then you'll have where this is such a tangent. I don't care. I'm not cutting it out because I think this is interesting. No, he can't have that because then he'll have the first person to win a race after 300, and that needs to be Lewis. Even though subsequently I was hoping Alonso would overtake him at the end of the race, this last race.
Oh wait, really? Is Alonso one away from?
He's way over 300 races.
I meant like a win away from. No.
No, it'd be his 33rd win.
Gotcha.
Or 32nd if you take away the Singapore 2008 Grand Prix, which everybody apparently wants to happen now. But that's Crashgate. I talked about it in a different episode. I don't want Alonso to get that record. I don't think Aston Martin's fastest in the straight line anyway. I'm not really concerned about them winning. I think we could get a weird podium this weekend. The real question is, like, what can Sargent do? What can Albon do? What can Norris do? What can Piastri do? I don't think Mercedes is going to win this race. This is not one I would put on a stamp of I think we can win this race. Brazil maybe, Mexico maybe, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would choose this race or Abu Dhabi. But I think for me, it's the opposite reason. I don't want him to have the thing.
Yeah.
So that and just the meme alone.
The meme is very important to the community, I believe.
So, ideal situation.
It's whether I have to think of this as a do I want a good meme or do I want a good team?
That's a good point. The ideal situation is that.
What can he just wreck after he crosses the finish line?
No. I think he has to DNF. I think it's the thing.
Dang.
So, I mean, he couldn't do it after he crossed the finish line on lap 1. No, I'm kidding. I think the ideal situation is for Max to crash in this race and Checo win. Hear me out, because then in Abu Dhabi, Red Bull will be going for a clean sweep. And then Lewis wins that race, and there's the double meme, and everybody's happy except for Red Bull fans. Well, not everybody's happy, but like we can do it. Anyway. All right, we need to wrap it up. Let me make sure. I think I had a couple other things I want to talk about. The rain, we got that. Ferrari looks like McDonald's, we got that. Checo's 2024. He was almost 11 seconds ahead. That's it. Oh, last thing, and then we'll get to your winner and loser. I know who your winner is going to be already, probably. How did Max win this race? This one was impressive. Yeah. Genuinely, there's no reason he's the only person that finished where he started.
Yep.
Only person.
Mm-hmm.
Genuinely an impressive performance. Cannot believe that he actually won. I kept thinking, there's no way he's going to lose this race.
He's just the GOAT.
He seemed like he really cared about this one too. Like winning his home race seemed important to him.
Oh, for sure.
I also think it would have been ironic if he had lost and they had hired that singer to sing in Dutch, and if he didn't win the race, what would she have done? Can she speak Spanish? Because Alonso would have won. I don't know. That would have been interesting. So anyway, winner, loser, go.
Winner's going to be Max.
Yeah.
9th straight win, of course. Loser. That's tough. I mean, I'm just going to say, I'm going to give one that's not an easy. I'm going to say McLaren.
Just not the best weekend.
Not the best weekend.
Back to back, not the best weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't look good. They got passed by Lewis too. Yeah.
Not a bad weekend.
Just not as good as it should be.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. I am going to give a tie to Max Verstappen and Pierre Gasly. Max deserves it. Again, seriously, as much as I don't want to admit it, incredible race by him. Gasly, amazing weekend for him. I'm also going to tie the loser. I'm going to give the loser to Mercedes for just botching the strategy so bad.
Yeah.
This weekend was over in qualifying, but Lewis still tried and was the GOAT and drove like a madman and got back. And then I'm also going to give it to Logan Sargent, who I think lost the seat this week. So
fair enough. That's good.
Stay tuned for the Monza curse. We'll see what happens. The race is this week, and I really missed Formula One while I was gone. I felt like it was gone for a long time. So
yeah, it did feel like a while.
Subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Anything else you want to add?
I think that's it.
Okay. All right. Come on, Monza Curse. You can do it. Let's go, Alex Albon. You're going to win this race and jump up like so many positions in the championship. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.